and Joey, the Jays of the bot lane, doing their thing across the map. But speaking of that bot lane, a flash forward and a flash response from Keith. Joey goes in for it, but JJ already marked down low. That's first blood, getting the credit onto Joey as the support, but a successful kill in.
That there's not going to be any focus on their lane pretty much whatsoever. Keith goes for a call.
Joey, when he goes in for that additional damage, falls pretty low, knows that his jungler is nearby, will mark down to about 30% HP, but so is the enemy that is in pursuit of him, that does have that ultimate, that does activate it, but it's not enough for that safety. So now 1-1 on the kill board officially.
4 members here already. Aphelios looking to potentially come up, but Lorlo, again, they went for a fight last time with no Narbar. I don't think it's as likely to hurt them this time.
And most of them are clustered around and using the blast zone to get over the wall. Pretty knocks over Lorlo back. Here comes in Viper with the hook shot, but Lorlo did flash over the wall. That's the kill onto Joey. Dignitas getting the 1-for-1 so far. They've lost their jungler, and now the enemy jungler falls once again as well. So a couple of kills in Meganar form, narrowly missing with Lee. Here's the teleport in response, so Viper can get some additional security from the rest of his team. A great outplay right there to sidestep the Wind Becomes Lightning, but over here in mid, Pretty has been marked down low. The route onto Soligo. Unstoppable this time around. The Olaf gets the kill. Here's the hook shot to directly land on top of Lorlo, working into that raid bar. There it is. Lands with the ultimate directly into the wall for the stun to get the kill, and it has finally arrived. And these hits hit heavy for sure. But Lorlo, does he have any assistance? He does not. Instead, it's Joey here for the rotation. Throws down the ignite to make sure that kill is secure. Into the tri-bush, gets the knock-up. There's the charm. Still in pursuit. Lorlo is just outnumbered right here by Immortals. Will is coming from the outskirts in the jungle. Spawn is rotating as well, but cannot make it in enough time. So the top laner falls in favor of Immortals here. But it's continued when it becomes lightning, ends up hitting over the wall. The Chain of Corruption allows a lot of stacking of the damage onto the Olaf, who has to pop the ultimate. Meanwhile, in the rest of the fight, there's a TP right in the center. And Spawn has found his fate. He tries to get a nice hook onto Soligo. He manages to dash over the wall and in the backside and ends up falling. So no more jungler on the side of Immortals. The Dragon has been up. Flash forward. Viper throws down the Hextech ultimatum onto Will. Nearly gets him down to a Shrill and a Sliver. But Joey and Viper already marked down. They have to back off of this fight. Soligo using the Emperor's Device. Split onto the opposite side. It's Viper that hook shots in. Targets JJ. That signals for the charm to come through. Pretty onto the back line, onto Spawn. Should be able to burn him down. Lorlo keeping Viper all the way on the wayside, but Will also chunks down. Keeps flashing over to the opposite end. Viper using his Hextech ultimatum. Gets the kill onto Dignitas. The Baron is still around. It's still alive and still ready for the taking, which means Immortals can try to shore this up after the triple kill that Pretty had achieved. Taking down Dignitas and taking the Baron for themselves.
Just didn't believe Pretty there, and he was very quickly proven wrong and made a believer. Pretty was able to blow him up, and this might be the window that Immortals actually need to go for something, because they still have a lot of ultimates. The only thing they're really missing, they get a root.
Chain of Corruption, look at that blast, followed up with the Gnar ultimate to secure this kill onto Keith. And now Dignitas see an open opportunity to use the Emperor's Divide. Soligo going into stasis to keep himself protected, but he is still targeted by Viper. Spawn taken out of the fight, chunked down way too low, and has to seek the security of his turret. But it's a 2-for-2 trade, taking off some of those Baron buffs.
Well, at the end, it was still just the one turret, right, Gabby? I said they would get one more. They got one more. It ends up being a bit of a back and forth. But now we're going back to the Dragon. The Baron buff is gone. It just expired. You see 3 minutes next to the next Baron. That means the previous one is gone. But Keith just ends up getting caught here. And that's kind of it, right? Viper and Pretty need to look for ways to create threats, and unfortunately they aren't able to get into a position to create a threat before Keith ends up getting caught here. And suddenly, without Keith, without that backup damage, it becomes very hard for Pretty and Viper to necessarily be aggressive. They're able to try and find some good damage onto Soligo. They do trade a kill back, but it's the kind of thing where if they had a little bit more time to set up, they probably could have found a bigger win. Instead, we're just tied 2-2 dragons, which means if anybody gets a soul, it means we're going to be playing for a lot longer.
ADC is super important for the fight. Who would have thought? The previous big team fight when Pretty had isolated Spawn and he couldn't do nothing about it. Then Dignitas fell, and now the great ultimate from Spawn to isolate Keith and get him out. You saw the way he tried to get an ultimate off just to be able to help the rest of IMT, but couldn't. In the end, though, IMT, like you said, they still got the objective. It was still a 2-for-2 trade. And that's a lot of value from this Baron buff. Now bringing the pressure over towards this bot lane. A slight wave for themselves. Another one ushering in. And the majority of IMT circling this to force Jay and his teammate back.
There you go. You just get access to the sides. You threaten to dive anybody who actually shows up, and Dignitas not able to present in for Soligo. Now actually looking to be pushing up in the top lane. Does have teleport, and the scary thing here for me is Viper and Pretty both going to be pretty happy to actually split into him, right? So Soligo can't stay here for that much longer. Just going to be pushing this out, and as the teleport comes through from Pretty, look at where Viper is. Soligo might have to use a teleport of his own. Whoa, that was weird.
Yeah. A little oddness there, but speaking of Soligo up here, Viper looks like he wants to join this cup of tea and make it a 2-for-1. Emperor's Divide to push him away, but the hook shot's good. Uses the stasis on the side. Meanwhile, the rest of the team is fighting over towards this riverside. Pretty becoming the target of Lorlo. Throws out the chain from this LeBlanc. Now Viper is zipping over towards the rest of his team. The headbutt in from the Alistar. Flashes in to get the knock up. But Dignitas, they bought the security of this tower too. He's taken down Anda, and right now are currently standing strong. You notice that right there in the bush, there's a back from a certain Immortals member. As Camille has to heal back up right now, but it's Dignitas continuing to push onto this turret. Immortals don't look like they've backed off just yet.
I don't feel like Immortals should feel super uncomfortable just quite yet. Olaf is always helpful, but isn't the most crucial member of their team fight. And we are still seeing, as long as Immortals can get a situation where Keith is able to hit, they can still take these fights. Unfortunately, he got split off in that last one, and now as Dignitas are here, they don't control the pixel brush, which gives Immortals a lot of fog of war to potentially play with, and this allows Pretty and Joey to find JJ.
JJ over in the back, immediately collapsed upon. Immortals, oh no, they feel pretty good about that pick. Look at the damage that's already been ushered onto Dignitas, and losing their support, they know they cannot commit to this Baron. Can they back? What can they do about this? Lorlo goes in, ushers a flash from the enemy ADC into stasis. Two members go, one on each side, and even a root over here onto Viper, but he zips back in. All of this effort just have two taken down onto Dignitas' side. Immortals continue with the action. Can he power through? Not so much. Even a blast zone isn't going to save you. Teleporting over into mid lane. They're able to just chunk right through this. An ace for Immortals, Joshi. These explosive ends to these games.
And again, this is all what it comes down to. You gotta play around Nars bar. They waited for Lorlo to get desperate to use his ultimate before the fight ended. He tries to get it. He doesn't really catch anyone. Keith is able to keep himself alive, and even though he dies, he still has enough damage. And now, Immortals, they don't even care about JJ. They're just gonna hit the turrets.
Nope, JJ's doing his best diligence as a support and the only one alive for Dignitas to hold his own under these turrets. But Immortals' force is way too strong. After refreshing their ace on this Dignitas squad, Immortals put themselves 2-1 in this series. We're going to kick it to another break, everyone. Soon enough, the action continues.